Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're taking a look at Miraidon EX with Regieleki VMAX, a combo that's pretty obvious, but was not the first, not the first video that I did Miraidon on. When I did my first Miraidon video, it was when the EX were first revealed, and I did it with Flap and Ampharos EX. Obviously that deck is still fine, it's still pretty good, but I just want to take a look at another version of Miraidon, because I did a small bracket with 8 post-rotation decks in it. And this deck, the Miraidon Regieleki deck, ended up coming out on top over, the big bad of the new set, Gardevoir EX, Regieleki EX, Giratina VSTAR, things like that. So we're just going to go ahead and jump right in, starting off with 3 Miraidon EX. And of course, this has the insane 10-unit ability that lets you search your deck for 2 lightning Pokemon, 2 basic lightning Pokemon, that is, and put them right onto your bench so you can get multiple Regieleki V with this, or like a Regieleki V and a second Miraidon to use that one's ability again, and to get even more Regieleki. So basically the idea is that with just a single Miraidon EX, you can set up your entire board instantly, which is super, super good because it lets us save space. Lets us save our consistency space that it would usually go towards Nest Ball's Battle VIP Pass to other cards like, the more lightning energy, so you can hit the electricity generator, which is the item card that will allow us to accelerate energy to this more often. So there's a lot of interesting benefits that this tandem unit gives your deck. Gives your deck more space for other stuff mainly, and it's like that. A single Miraidon, you're like, okay, I'm gonna be able to play the game, at least get out my basics, which is super, super nice. Moving on. Or actually, no, I need to talk about the attack. Photon Blaster for lightning and colorless, dealing 220 damage, and you can't attack with it next turn, which is pretty easy. Get around, obviously, to switch in and then out again. But we're actually going to be able to boost this Photon Blaster's attack to big, big numbers with just with the Regieleki VMAX that makes the basics lightning Pokemon do 30 more damage. So 2 Regielekis, you're dealing 280, which will KO stage 1s, like Bayonet EX, what's it called? I'm blanking on them. Arcanine EX, things like that, and even more. If you get all 4 Regieleki VMAX in play, you're dealing 340 damage, which will one-shot literally every single card ever printed. So super duper good attack, and just a single retreat cost is also really, really nice for using a stadium called Beach Court that will allow us to pivot our Pokemon by reducing their retreat cost by 1. So giving this guy free retreat with that Beach Court is also a really, really good plus in addition to the deck. Then we have 4 copies of Regieleki VMAX, and 4 copies of Regieleki V. But I mentioned the Transistor ability. Your basic lightning Pokemon deal 30 more damage. But a also underrated part about this card in this deck is going to be the free retreat cost. It lets you, since the electricity generator only accelerates onto your bench lightning Pokemon, having this, if you just start a Regieleki V and evolve into Regieleki VMAX on turn 2, you're going to have a pivot so that you can just, after you use the electricity generator, get a couple energies in play, you can just retreat right into that attacker that you accelerated onto, which is really, really nice. Also, you can, if you don't even have the Beach Court in play and your Miraidon EX is not able to attack because you attacked with Photon Blaster last turn, you can just play the switch right into this Regieleki and then retreat it for free. The attack is decent. It's not that bad, but it's also not that great either. It's definitely not the attack that you prefer to be using. Max Thunder Lightning for Lightning double colorless, dealing 220. That's fine. You can't boost it because Regieleki is not a basic, but still, in pinch, it's not bad. Obviously, it's just a very solid damaging attack. And then we have the Regieleki V, 4 of them. Of course, we can evolve into our VMAX. But a part of this card that I think I really underrated until I actually sat down and played games with this deck and was like, oh, this attack is really good, is a Lightning Wall. For Lightning 2 colorless, Lightning Wall, 100 damage, and it takes 100 less damage next turn, which just turns you into a tank versus Summon decks. It makes Bayonet EX, its item lock attack, deal 0 damage to you. It makes Cramorant deal 10 damage to you. Radiant Greninja, no damage. Giratina, big 288 damage swing. It's only going to be dealing 180 damage, which will leave you with 20 HP left. So, what else? Gardevoir EX, 190. Tank 100 down all the way down to 90. They're not even two-shotting you anymore. So yeah, this Lightning Wall attack is really, really good versus so many decks. Allows you to survive almost anything, basically, increasing your Regieleki V's HP all the way to 300. And it's really easy to attack with this attack with this attack um, on turn 2 or even turn 1 because of that electricity generator item card that allows us to get the energies into play. It's really easy to attack with this. To attack with Lightning Wall. And yeah, it's just good versus so many decks, especially these evolving decks that are going to have lots of small HP Pokemon. In the early game, Lightning Wall will be able to take a couple single prize KOs if you're getting it out and using it in the early game. And it is going to be the best in the early game when decks are potentially not going to have access to as much big damage as they would later in the game. So you kind of put them in a weird spot and just kind of take some free prizes, basically, get some free damage in play with the Lightning Wall, and allows you so that you're not as pressured to set up a bunch of Regieleki VMAXs early in the game, so that you Miraidon EX is swinging for a bunch of damage. You can kind of put in a little bit of early damage with Lightning Wall, and then clean up with the Photon Blaster on Miraidon EX. So really, really good attack. Lightning Wall, I found, it's just like, wow, like this attack is just so good versus a lot of stuff. Then we have kind of a weird card, and this is Magnezone V, not V, Magnezone VSTAR. Which, if you don't know what it does, I'm not surprised it's seen literally zero play almost. But it does have the Electro Star V-Star power for 2 lightning energies. You deal 90 damage to your opponent's bench Pokemon, which versus these single prize decks that are going to be needing to evolve little low HP Pokemon, they don't Mana Fiend play Electro Star just feasts on them. And this might even come up where if you get out the Magnezone V early with the Tandem units, your opponent might not even know what Magnezone VSTAR does and not even mention their Mana V. Like this card sees zero play, and imagine some people don't even know what it does. So if you can, sometimes potentially you can even catch people by surprise with this. And at the very least, it is the only VSTAR in your deck, so you still can use it to like soften up Pokemon for Miraidon, Photon Blaster. A really, really good attack. And then we have Magnetic Grip for Lightning Double Colors, 180 and search your deck for 2 items, which is not great. If you don't want to retreat your Magnezone after using Electro Star, you can go for the Magnetic Grip. It does search your deck for two item cards, which you can grab out the Electricity Generator to keep the energy flowing to your board, which is not bad, but it's really not the attack you want to be using. You'd rather just be taking big one-shots with Photon Blaster or taking less damage with Lightning Wall. And then the last Pokemon is 1 copy of Radiant Greninja. Concealed card is just insane. Obviously, and since we have a bunch of energies in this deck, we consistently hit Electricity Generators, the item card that I've been mentioning. Since we have a bunch of energies in our deck for hitting that card, we can use the extras, because we're certainly not going to be needing all 16 of them. We can use the extras to just get a couple more cards and make our deck a little bit more consistent with that Radiant Greninja. Then moving on to supporter cards, we have 4 copies of Professor's Research here. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. Sorry, they were sticking together. Okay, 4 copies of Professor's Research, and 4 copies of Judge, which I'm a fan of 4 Judge in a lot of decks. Obviously, Disruption decks like Bayonets are going to want 4 Judge, but even just in just your regular deck, I feel like Judge should be a 2, 3, or even 4 of in a lot of decks, just because Marnie was a good card, obviously. Marnie for game is a classic scenario where you just Marnie, you draw onto 4 dead cards, and then you top deck another dead card. You just don't get to play the game. Judge can do the same thing. It's the same amount of cards. They just draw your selfless cards, which can be a little bit annoying sometimes, but at least for your opponent, it's the same thing almost, which just, Disruption's good, and I don't see any reason why it would get worse. Plus, it's not just another consistency supporter card. And then finally, 2 copies of not Professor's Research, Boss's Orders for Gusting, of course. And then we have item cards for Ultra Ball. Now, I did mention the kind of nice thing about this deck is that we can go kind of light on the basic funny consistency. We don't have to play many Nest Balls. We don't have to play any Battle VIP Pass because we have our Tandem unit on Miraidon, but we still need a way to search out Regieleki VMAXs, so that is what Ultra Ball will allow us to do. As well, of course, we do start the Regieleki V and not the Miraidon EX. We can go fish out the Miraidon EX to develop our board. Then we have the Electricity Generator, which I've been mentioning this whole entire video. And this item card is simply nuts. It's super strong. It's the Electricity Generator. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck and attach up to 2 lightning energy you find there to your lightning Pokemon. on your bench, which is going to allow you to power up Miraidon, it's going to allow you to power up Magnezone and Regieleki V. And this suddenly makes Electrostar a lot easier to fulfill an attack with, the Electrostar on Magnezone, because you can no longer have to commit 2 turn attachments to it. You can Electricity Generator a couple onto it and then commit your turn attachment somewhere else onto Miraidon, which just makes this deck so much better. And I've heard people saying that this card isn't that good because sometimes you only hit 1 Lightning Energy. And hitting 1 Lightning Energy is completely fine. Just 2 turn attachments and a single Lightning Energy from the Electricity Generator, you're going to be able to attack with anything in your deck. So it's not that bad if you don't hit that many energies. You like to hit 2, of course, but it's not a gigantic catastrophe if you only hit 1. And if you hit 0, just go find another one. You have 4 of them in your deck. You have plenty of draw with the Research the Judge and Greninja. You should be able to find multiple of them by turn 2 or turn 3. So just play a second one if you hit no Lightning Energy off the first one. And we play enough Lightning Energy that you should be hitting them pretty consistently. It's very rare you hit 0 energies off the Electricity Generator. Early in the game, you still have all your Lightning Energy in your deck. I can't really say enough how good of a card this is. Then we have 3 copies of Nest Ball, which will of course be able to find our basics, and then 3 copies of Capturing Aroma. And this is just another way to search out a basic, find out Miraidon if we don't have it yet. But also, like I mentioned with the Ultra Balls, can find out Regieleki VMAX as well. 2 copies of Switch, so we can switch our Pokemon. Like I said, Photon Blaster says you cannot attack with it the next turn, so if you can just switch into Regieleki VMAX for your retreat out, and just Photon Blaster again. Also, sometimes like Magnezone V is a pretty bad starter because it has a retreat cost at 2, so I'm going to switch out of that is nice as well. Then we have 2 copies of Exp Share, because I'm noticing that, like I said, sometimes you don't hit every single Electricity Generator, especially the ones that, like the 2 that you play in the later half of the game. Exp Share lets you conserve your energies, so are not as pressured to hit a couple energies off of every single Electricity Generator you play. Yeah, just super solid card. I played this deck without the Exp Share. Or at least I played with my dad, and my dad was like, something's missing from here, and I added this, and the entire deck just kind of clicked a little bit more. So yeah, Exp Share is pretty decent in my opinion. And we have 2 copies of Beach Court at the Stadium, which gives the basic Pokemon in play retreat cost 1 less. So this lets you retreat out your Miraidon, Greninja as well. So that in combination with Switch, we should have enough switching outs. Then we have our basic energy. We have 16 copies of basic Lightning Energy in the deck. And yeah, this seems to be a pretty good number. Like I mentioned, if you have any extras, just discard them with Radiant Greninja. And yeah, lets you hit the Electricity Generators often, which is of course what you want to see with this deck. Hitting Electricity Generators is super important. And then yeah, that's going to be it for the list. Super duper good deck in my opinion. Lightning, like before I realized how good Lightning Wall is, I was kind of like, okay, this deck is fine. Like, it's a very linear deck, but then the Lightning Wall came, I was like, oh wait, there's just so much you can do with this deck, and so many options it has against a bunch of decks in the game. And yeah, I feel like this deck's going to be pretty strong. So yeah, that's going to be for you guys. If you guys liked it, don't forget to like. If you guys want to see more, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.